Going back to the big picture, when you excavate the law, this is what we find. We find a particular threat model that is obsessed with conscious intent. You're the bad guy. You're the bad apple. On the weekends, you put on a sheet and burn crosses. I don't know what you do, but our threat model is there's one perpetrator who has an evil mind and an evil heart doing bad things to folks of color, and that's not right. That's unconstitutional if you're a state actor. It's illegal if you're an employer. That's how we understood and focused on the law. Now let's juxtapose the new science taught to us against the old law. The truth is, we've just learned that we discriminate without the intent to discriminate and without the awareness that we're discriminating. That means if we look only for conscious intent, we will necessarily be blind to a whole bunch of real harm that's painful and consequential. How do I know that it's painful and consequential? Of course, Tony Greenwald told you so. He had a PowerPoint slide. But there's more, and it's kind of odd that I'm going to show you a little more numbers than a professional psychologist, but crazier things have happened. In psychology, people talk about not only whether something can be demonstrated to be statistically significant, people are increasingly interested in what we call effect sizes. Like, you say implicit bias might lead to more awkward body language. You say implicit bias might lead to slightly different kinds of force used when cops deal with young African-American men. You say there's some connection, but like, how much of a connection? Like, sure, I get it. It was enough to publish the article and you got tenure, but it is a lot or just a little, right? Because it matters, because there's a lot of stuff. A little, just a little, right? We've got a lot of things to worry about. It's just a little. The way that scientists try to figure out whether it's a lot or little is to canvass the entire literature. They are not like lawyers who won't mind a 50-page memorandum describing all the different studies, say in 50 different states, or all the different laws. What they want, scientists, let's face it, they like numbers. They want one number, right? They don't want to read 50 pages. They want one number. So what they do is they take all the studies, both published and unpublished, create essentially standardized effect sizes for each of the studies, weight them roughly by the number of subjects that were run through each study, such that a study that had 3,000 people versus a study that had 30 people, you would weight accordingly, and you stitch it together to get one number. When you do that, Greenwald et al., I was not part of that all, he didn't invite me. I didn't have the credit, regardless, I couldn't help. But the point is, in 2009, Tony Greenwald produces the first meta-analysis of effect sizes. And he comes up with a number. In sensitive domains like black-white behavioral domains, he comes up with a number, R, Pearson's R, a measure of linear correlation from -1 to 1. Like, what does this mean? He gets a number, R equals 0.236. You square that to get the percentage of variance explained, and by now your eyes have glazed over. It says something, it's a number, maybe you learned it, you promptly forgot it. Here's what's interesting, right? There are some people politically who don't like the idea of implicit bias. They think, yeah, come on, like really it doesn't exist. It's a tournament of merit. If there's a disparity, it's because the people at the bottom are not very good at what they do. Stop whining. There are a lot of people who are hostile politically, but also ideologically and also financially and also scientifically. When you get some such people into a room and have them write their own paper, this is what they get. They get R equals 0.15. R equals 0.15. Now again, you're thinking like, I don't know what, like, dude, I don't know what R equals 0.236 means. I don't know R equals 0.15. Like, it's obviously lower. That you can tell, right? 0.236 versus 0.15. I can tell that as well. There's two things that are interesting. One is, the nice thing about data is that they misbehave. What I mean is they don't actually follow blindly the commands of the person who collected the data. So you could say, if you're a complete cynic and skeptic, that Tony Greenwald would want to pump up this number all the way up to R equals 1. He created the test, you find the behavior, it's like a perfect diagnosis for racist behavior. In some sense, who wouldn't want a perfect diagnosis, right? A perfect test that gets everything right in a total linear correlation. But he only finds 0.236. Moreover, the people who are hostile and also work as experts defending large corporations who've been sued, right, would want R equal to 0. this is a crazy junk science test. I don't know why you're playing those internet games. He was probably lying when he was typing in those numbers. Those numbers were set up even beforehand. You've just been played. Whatever the reasons might be, you would want them to shunt it down to 0. But they are scientists too. And even though they make different judgments about what studies to consider, how to count, they can't push it to 0, just like Tony can't push it to 1.